Good afternoon. This is the final panel discussion about the today's topic is quite related to the keynote speakers from Dr. Kayashima. The topic is what can academia do for SDGs in Asia? So at first, I want to introduce today's participant. From the right-hand side from youth, Mr. Sepatier Spendi, the manager ASEAN. And the next speaker the participant is Charles Boliko, Director Liaison Office in Japan. And then the final presenter is Dr. Yamashiki, the professor of the G-Science. Today's structure is as follows. In order to discuss about the role of academia to solve the SDGs in Asia, maybe first part might be from the perspective of the practitioners, what the academia can do for the solving the SDGs in Asia. So at first, I want to have the presentation from the Dr. Boliko about what do you think about the role of academia?
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I would go in the interest of time. I wanted to spend a few seconds introducing FAO, but let me keep it very short because you all know about FAO. We are the lead agency when it comes to achieving zero hunger, SDG 2, but we do so through generating and sharing knowledge. It's about not giving people fish, but teaching them how to fish. And so, as you can understand, food and agriculture are very central to the achievement of SDGs, and you'll understand that if you consider that out of some 40 UN agencies, FAO alone is responsible for 21 of the 232 SDGs. It tells you the whole story. As my colleague from UNESCO already said, FAO, UNESCO are among those agencies that already were thinking of sustainability and incorporated that in their working programs, daily programs, way before we had the SDGs around. And so he also said, among other things, that all SDGs are equal, they are interdependent, they are complementary, and I support this. But this is not from FAO, this is not from the UN, my own reading of SDGs based on the data that we have today. And I can say one thing, and I stand to be contradicted. If, based on what we have in the world today, if we could make sure that we deal with poverty and hunger, because they are intertwined, they are interlinked, very highly correlated. If you're poor, you're likely to be hungry. And if you're chronically hungry, you're likely to remain poor your whole life. So if we can deal with these two, and in addition to that, we give people quality education, I think we have created the grounds for all other SDGs to be achieved. Of course, we have to do so by working in partnerships. This is my reading of this. We can discuss later on. So where are we today? I said, based on the information we have today, where are we? And I want to go through some data on the situation of world food security. The first reality is that this world, as it stands today, is producing enough food for every single one of us to eat. Yet, we have more than 821 million people who don't have access to that food, and that's 29 people, okay? And you know what? We may think the problem is in Africa, maybe, but the greatest majority of these people live right here in Asia. 2/3 of them are Asians. In spite of us doubling the GDP in 7 years, in spite of us making the best progress in terms of industrial development, agricultural production, we are still hosting 2/3 of these hungry people. We have a problem. Let me continue. At the same time, we have both obesity and overweight on the increase everywhere at all age groups. The data is right here. This is Asia. And some people have told me, oh, it's the lowest. That's not the point. The point is it's increasing. And we must pay attention to that. But then this is obesity, but this is overweight by region and by age group. Asia is right here. Look at it. From 2000 to 2018, it's increasing. And that is the problem we have to deal with. Because we all know that overweight and obesity are linked to more death. They cause a lot more deaths worldwide than just underweight. And this is why this is a huge source of expense. Let me continue with this. I want to insist. We know that climate change will be, so now previous speakers spoke about this, but I would add conflict and economic slowdown or even downturn are major causes of hunger and malnutrition. I want all of us to pay attention to this. Malnutrition-related factors contribute to about 45% of deaths among infants. In other words, you give these children enough nutritious food, they won't die. And we let them down and they die. The same goes here. Poor nutrition kills more people than AIDS, malaria, and tuberculosis combined. Okay? In other words, we would be able to save a lot more people by investing in food and nutrition than through any other actions. But I'm not saying drop this. We have to continue doing that. But if we add this and seriously, we can achieve a lot more when it comes to SDGs. And if we don't do anything, let's all remember that malnutrition is costing the world some 3.5 trillion US dollars every year. At the same time, as we have so many people who don't have access to enough food, and some students even mentioned this, we are producing enough, but 1/3 of that food is never eaten. We throw it away. We don't eat it, okay? And so we are throwing away 2.6 trillion US dollars. And I liked when, look at all these and we say no one left behind. Imagine how many people we are right now leaving behind, even though we have the means to save them. That's the point, okay? And second, I liked what the students said. I changed this part to reflect that. Tembo said, okay, quoting UNDP, we need about $5 to $7 trillion to achieve SDGs. Do this addition. Aren't we throwing money that we could have used to achieve SDGs? Who are we? Okay? We have to rethink the way we live, the way we do things. And I liked what Benno mentioned again. He said, where are we? What is it that we are doing today to address all these pressing issues that are related to the achievement of SDGs? What action are we taking? I'll come back to that. And so let's look at further or possible issues for discussion in the context of academia. One is we have intertwined, interdependent, complementary SDGs, but their achievement may lead to some contradictions and necessary trade-offs. I'll give you some examples. Children who are stunted, if they eat more animal source foods, they can recover more quickly, all right? But at the same time, this would mean we will be emitting more greenhouse gas. How can we deal with that? How do we achieve win-win situations? This is very delicate. Another case will be, as we want the world population, we know will be growing to reach some 9.7 billion, okay, people by 2050. Now we have to increase world food production by at the very least 50%. The problem is this. It means using more water, and that has very negative impact on the environment, which can also affect fish production. So how do we handle this? You can see these are types of issues that are very complex. And here we need analysis from academia. These are urgent. You know, if we implement some of our best ideas, we must know rigorously whether they are working and how they are working. We need rigorous and honest evaluations. And these are usually lacking, okay? And so this is where, because these are so hard to design, we need inputs from academia as well. And I would insist, this will be my last point, the need to focus our research on how impact areas for SDGs. We are all doing different things to achieve SDGs, but how is my work going to change the situation between now and 2030? How many of us are asking themselves that question? It's easy to say my research will contribute to this aspect. All right, but how is it going to make it possible for us to achieve SDGs by 2030 is a question that I don't hear very often. We satisfy ourselves with doing something about it. That's not enough. That will not lead us to the point. Take an example, okay? We say there is enough, and we have 1 in 9 people who do not eat enough, the majority in Asia. We throw away 1/3. What's the problem? We have the food, but our food systems don't allow us to bring this food to those who need it the most for various reasons. How many of us are really investing on improving food systems now so that everybody eats, so that we reduce poverty, so that, and you know, the food we throw away, that is a major cause of greenhouse gas emission. A major cause. And you know the consequences in terms of global warming, in terms of climate change, and how that comes to destroy our lives. And we have all suffered one way or the other. And so what is it that we're doing right now? Because these are very pressing issues. We need academia there. And so we, NFL, here in Japan alone, we're working with all these universities, including Kyoto University. And with Kyoto University, we have a full MOU. Why do we think this is necessary? Very simple. We are convinced that by working together, we can have better quality data. We can have, therefore, more evidence-based policy decisions and greater impact on the ground. I think this is why we are working with everyone, with all these universities, and this is only Japan. If you go to the US, we have more universities that we work with, et cetera, et cetera. And so the contribution of academia is huge, but I don't feel that academia feels the urgency to do things that make it possible to achieve SDGs by 2030, not just do something about it. I challenge all of us to rethink the way we're, handling SDGs today. Thank you.
Thank you very much for Charles. So we feel the good feeling about the academic expectation from the practices. So